Hello everyone, good evening. Today is October 31st. Happy Halloween, and trying to get the video out early so we can go to the trick and treat. So anyways guys, another day in the books. Overall the choppy day in the market. We had choppy for most of the market dependent plays, the blue chips, so there was a lot of chop. But today the important lesson is how to change your bias, how to adjust your bias, how to keep losers small and change the bias when we need to. So we'll talk about that today. We'll talk about our huge win of NVDA right at open. Our puts went 100%. We'll talk about loser in CAT, that was an opening loss. Talk about how we managed pins today. Big win on ANET and PFE, the bearish bias. We'll talk about how we change our bias on SRPT for huge $5 to $6 per share profit there. We'll talk about how we manage CHWY. We'll talk about few of day 2 plays. ON was a day 2. SOFI was a day 2 versus 7. We'll discuss the Tesla trade by Win. We'll talk about SPY and QQQ, how we manage the chop, and what was the action on SPY today. We'll discuss all that. Very low volume day on the SPY and the marketplace. And we'll spend some time reviewing the AMD earnings. I'll talk about how I analyze the earnings and what are my thoughts and why did AMD pull back and bounce in the after hours. So we'll discuss all that, guys. So let's start. So today's watch list was pretty clean. NVIDIA was up top on our watch list, as you see. Nice win on NVIDIA. Had to cut the rest when it changed bias. We'll talk about it. Caterpillar, pins, ANET, our main plays. We touched SRPT. Did not do anything much on the other names. Market plays today, Apple, Microsoft, everything was a low volume. Meta was a good short under the level of the 300 level at the open. So we'll discuss a little bit about that, and we'll talk about how we tried to trade Amazon, and it was choppy, and we had a loss on Amazon as well. But we'll discuss all that. So as always, I was up early today, 45 to 30 minutes before the market opened, preparing my watch list and preparing what I need to do. Going through all the news, wake up summary. Every day we do it 45 minutes before the market opens. We do a wake up summary. Then we go through all the news plays. I go through bunch of websites to make a plan for the day. And as you see, my watch list was ready. And there was a VIX plan. So what was the plan on VIX? We'll discuss it when we go to SPY and QQQ. And our levels were ready. So today, due to the chop, most of the levels, were not really that effective, but some really helped out. Like SPY breakout level, Boeing levels, they were decent. And then we had the plan for the day pre-market on all the names: NVIDIA, CAT, pins, ANET, SRPT, and that was our plan. So let's start with our main play, NVIDIA. So why was NVIDIA our top play today? There are a few reasons behind it. We had a bearish note in the morning that I shared in the community. I even tweeted about it, out of China, the loss that NVIDIA would have. The other thing was we were watching this 400 level, NVIDIA right here. It created a hammer end of the day. We'll discuss that in the end. But we were watching this break, and that's why it was high on our watch list. So as you see, right at open, before even open, I had the guidance on NVIDIA that we are going to, let me show you. So right at open, we had, the plan was simple. We watch the bounce to short it. We need 400 break to scale in, right? And we do not want to size too much till the 400 breaks, because that's the key level to break. And I did send out, even I posted on Twitter when the 400 gave up. And right at open, as soon as it was breaking at our pre-market lows, I started some starter share short. And as soon as 400 gives up, you add more. So let me go to 2 minutes. So remember, guys, we always trade in two ways. Some of our trades are just the morning trades. We take profits before 10 a.m., no questions asked. Then we reposition ourselves for a trades after 10 a.m., trend holds, or any other trades that come after 10 a.m. That's our topmost rule in our community that I teach. So anyways, NVIDIA was breaking 400. At the same time, I was on voice, and I was on voice. This is only like 30% of things I'm doing in the community. A lot of my guidance is on voice. So spike QQQ, we were already short on the bearish bias right at open, and so we were covering NVIDIA as it was fading. So NVIDIA at the open, it faded from 404 to 393, and 395 puts, there's a typo here, 395 puts went 100%, and our target was 390, right? So you short at open, just a starter size, 400 breaks, you add into it. It was easier because I was trading the shares, but I had few options as well. And then as soon as it flushes so much, it's almost like from the open or opening highs, that's almost a $10 flush. So you have to be ready before the market open. That's why it was on top of my watch list. That was the first one. And 390 was my target, but that doesn't mean we don't cover. So we started covering into those dips. We started covering into our dips. So I closed half the position. Once I was dipping here, I was holding rest to see if we can break this bear flag here. You know, I'll show you in 10 minutes in a bit. So that I mentioned, we break 393, we go to 390. And the bounce rejection levels are 400. As long as 400 stays heavy, we stay short. And that was our plan. But we were already made 100% on that short, or you know, $7 per share short. If you take from 400, that was almost $7 per share short, and we were already locking our profits. So now decision was what happens with the rest of our piece. How do we manage it? So that's how we managed it. So once we covered our shorts, and if you look in 10 minutes, almost a hammer candle came in. So that was your first signal that it's going to bounce. So you have to start reducing your position. You don't add here. If you miss this and you are adding here, you're already doing a bad risk to reward. You could wait for a bounce to 400, which I was talking about, bounce to 400, and it did bounce to 400 and failed again. You know, this is where, you know, it's just you start to think to cover again, but when it swipes right back, then you need to start thinking to get out of the old position. And that's what warning I was giving. I said resistance is 400. If it rejects, you hold. You know, it was rejecting, and I said you hold your puts. But once it regained that 512 and 400, there was time to think to start cutting it. You could still keep small, like 1/5 of your position, to see how this EMA's 404 resistance acts. But your main trade, your main thesis is gone when it's making higher highs, higher lows. If NVIDIA made lower highs, lower lows, then that would have been all day fade. You don't get greedy trying to make more money, or you don't get FOMO if you miss the morning trade. The morning trade was done. After this was a 10 a.m. bounce. If this rejected and this made lower highs, lower lows, all day fade. When you see this swipe back up, and you also keep eyes on the market, what market was doing at the same time. So what market was doing at the same time, it was bouncing. You see the bounce from pre-market, and we always look at market. We talk about what market is doing because NVIDIA is a market play. It's market dependent play. So you get out. So when finally it was getting out back over 400, you know, close my positions. I gave a warning that over 400, do not long. It could test 404, and it did test 404. And then I gave another warning. It's not a short. When it moved over 404, it's not a short. And since I said that, even if you were short and if you were losing, you could have covered, went long, used risk low of the candle right here, 401s or 400s, and then you long. You could have longed here starter, B minus, and then it gets B plus and 408. So you change your bias. If you were short, stayed short, short, that's it. You would have squeezed all the way 408 and you would have lost a lot of money. But no, that's not the way you do it, right? So even if you added here, you were already, you know, your risk is wide. So adding here, you were doing a mistake. So that's how you change your bias. You're short in the morning, you short here, you start to think to covering rest of your position here, and then you get all out, then maybe you look for a B minus bounce, 400 psychological level, add more over EMA Cloud's 512 is holding, and then you ride all the way up. So you could have traded down and long. I did not trade long, but I made sure that nobody is getting squeezed, and I didn't even lose getting squeezed. I was profitable. So that's something you really need to know and learn about changing your bias, right? With the system, with the levels. 400 was the story today, right? I don't get blind that 400 is broken and it's going down, down, down. Look at the hammer. Now, if the hammer is there, tomorrow this hammer market is good after FOMC, 400 is your risk for a swing trade or whatever, then it can push higher. So that was NVIDIA, guys. Hopefully, this is a good lesson for everyone here. All right, let's talk about CAT. So CAT was my loser today because it never really gave me a follow through and was getting chopped. So let's see how it was a loser. So right out of the gate, I shorted CAT, starter position, and then it was bouncing. It did not make a lower high, lower low. That's fine. It's still in a bear trend. But then it's trying to make another, higher high, higher low. So it's making a higher low. It did not make a lower low. And then it was rejecting again from 230. It rejected from 230 back to 226. And I was still hoping that maybe we break it this time. But when it didn't break that twice, then I had to think about taking the loss because I knew we could definitely chop in this range whole day. So my bias was right, but I did not have a right entry to manage the trade because it was chopping around the EMAs. So 230 was a big level. 230 was a big level. So I talked about 230 resistance. So I said, use the 230 resistance. Market has to give up, even though if you see at 1037, I talked about CAT 230 resistance, right? It dipped back to 226 area and went back to 230 resistance. And then it rejected the 230 resistance again, right? But by that time, I was, it should have worked out right away. So I cut it, I took a loss. That's fine. Yes, because I had a bad entry and I did not average up. But if you had a good entry, if you see this resistance, yeah, maybe you made some. But anyways, so the bias was right, the plan was right, but we never could execute it in a good way, and that's fine. So let's move to the next trade. So pins, plan was pretty clear, pre-market. Bullish to neutral, 2840 is the key level that we are watching. That was my key level, was this one right here. I'm keeping an open bias. Let's see the daily chart. I was very interested in the daily chart because of this 30 breakout, but I wanted a good entry and I didn't want to get stuck in the gap fill. So the first candle of pins, it pulled down, right? You see the 10-minute candle. Yes, we can go to 2-minute candles, but that was the trap for the short. So I was not fully convinced because to what to do with pins, because it was not giving, our plan was too long, but at that time I was not fully convinced. So I was waiting. When it swiped back up, I was waiting because it swiped back up right over the support I mentioned. So when it made this candle right here at 29 over EMA Clouds, higher lows, that's when I thought, yes, it's, you see, I said it's back over EMA Clouds versus, 2950. So those levels you watch if it rejects, but it was short, now became a B minus. So I had to think about bullish bias there, right? So I had to think about bullish bias there. So what I said was trying to break out, watch pullbacks to 29 area, 20, 80, 90 to be specific, and it's a bullish EMA Clouds. No more a bearish bias. No more a bearish bias. So right from there, it did push to almost 30. And then that's what I said, push to 30. So I pushed decent dollar move there. And 30 breakout, while I was waiting to add more. I was scalping a bit, but it was rejecting 30. And rejected 30 all day. So maybe it's a setup tomorrow. But the point is, if you sometimes this will happen. The system will chop you, but you need to understand what is the bias, what is your bias, and how you adjust your bias. At this point, it's no longer an A short because your gap fill strategy is gone. There's no reasoning. So then you have to look for a long, and for long, what's your risk? And that's the risk, 29 area. Right, so that's the risk, and you long, you scalp, do whatever, but you want to have this 30 breakout. So still a swing, small size, didn't get much today, but was definitely a little frustrating at open. But our plan and guidance was right. So let's see if it breaks 30 tomorrow. Maybe we can add more into 30s. If it breaks down 30, it can pull back and then bounce. Our price alerts are set. So we'll see what happens. Accordingly, we'll take profits or exit the position. So let's talk about ANET. ANET plan, it was really bullish daily. If you see on the daily chart, really bullish daily. Very interested in this chart. That's because it's a daily bullish, all-time highs. It's going to all-time highs. So what was the plan? Bullish bias versus 188.50. Do not size too big because it's extended. You want a pullback. 188.50 is a support, and then there's a 186 support. Too bad I didn't have a limit order set because market was pulling back at that time. So I hesitated a bit. If market was strong, I would have taken this position in my limit orders or market orders, and that would have been amazing. But regardless, I did take a position, and it ended up working out really nice for us because it's over EMA Cloud. So there was no reason to think about gap fill like pins, which gave us a moment of thinking that it can gap fill. So bullish bias, and at the end of the day, our bias was correct. And then when it was bouncing over EMA clouds at this area, I didn't have any position that time. And when I saw that this bullish trend is holding, that's when I gave a long idea and I took a position versus 190. So right here, you do a starter. First target is 198, and then you add over pre-market high breakout, and then you just let your trade ride. Starter, add more, let it ride, move stops, break even. Ideally, it should be somewhere here, and then you ride all day. The 200% went, I think, 150%. So I was in shares, and you can see all day guidance on ANET. It's time stamped here. Going towards our 198 target, holding the trend, 198 target met. And then next target was 200 target met, and then it even went to 201.50. Then it pulled back. I took some profits here, and then it closed so high over the yearly breakout, all-time high breakout, so swinging some. So beautiful, very profitable trade, which made me really green today, because from 193s to $200, that's 7 points for us, and good for option traders as well. So very proud of ANET, guys. Really profitable. Happy about this trade. You see, that's how if you're losers, like if you're losing on something like CAT, or but their losers are negligible. You lose one, but you make 4 or 5. So that's how you continue to grow your account. Let's look at the next one. So there was nothing special in CHWY. CHWY I was looking for a gap fill. I had a neutral bias, and we had to change the bias on CHWY as well. So if you see, I said gap fill under 19, and it can pull back to 1850. So shorted right at open QE. When I saw this, even before the 19 break, I shorted it. It pulled only shares. It pulled to 1880. And I covered a little bit here. That was nice, 40 cents here. But I wanted to see this 1970 break. But then QE never gave me lower highs, lower lows. So I was thinking, even though it just had 84 cents ATR. So then I had to think about that it's not worth it. You see it's holding this level, 1880, 1880, 1880. And when then it crossed over EMA clouds, I got out. So scratched it. So nothing special. Anyways, the gap was not even that big. So it just filled like 50% of the gap. And if you see the Fibonacci's, if you take it to here, to the market close yesterday, little bit more than 50%, it filled that, and then back over EMA clouds. So nothing special about this play, but did not size crazy, just manage it well, that's it. So let's move to next one. So guys, SRPT, another one where we changed the bias and ended up giving us nice win today. So initially I was short biased under the 57 break. If I 57 short, I know it could go to 50, but that it held right, recovered to the 57 right, it recovered back. So when it did that, at that point I scratched it because it came right back over 57, right? So I scratched that trade, just dollar loss, starter size. But then when I saw it 57 holding, that's when I said look for long versus 57. Look for long versus 57. I discussed with few of my biotech folks, understood what's going on, and it helped me with my conviction that it can bounce, right? So I said take a starter position, 1/3, want to see 512 reversal. Starter position here, want to see 512 reversal, 512 reversal here, 62 is the key, and have a starter, 62 is the key, and 162 was broken. Then you start to keep moving stops up. Move the stops to 60, and next target was 68, and then you keep moving the stops up, right? And if you were swinging it, then your risk is right here at 55s or 50s, right? And then as you see, since I said we take the starter, the stock went from 61 bucks to now 69 bucks in after hour because I'm swinging some lot of shares. So $6 win, scratch loss at open, nothing big, but look at the win. We changed the bias, and now it's over. It hit over $10 of profit. So beautiful trade. I'm proud of the fact we changed bias and it ended up, and you can see all day guidance here on SRPT. We had price alerts. You can see my price alert telling me that's a reversal at 512 EMAs. It was having hard time, but it finally got over. So it's slowly moving. We moved the stops up. 68 first target, and it gave us much more than that now in after hours. Because this was, you see this EMA Cloud rejection. So that's where you take profits. And then you keep some lotus for later. It dipped, it trapped some shorts and pushed higher again. So this is how you change bias. Alright guys, let's look at the next one. PFE doesn't have much ATR. I never really do good with these small range stocks, but the bias was that if it pops to 30.50, short it. It popped to 30.50, you short it. It was heavy, you short it. Went to 29.70 into 10 a.m. You cover it, and then it was bouncing again, and it again rejected 30.50. Look at it, 30.50 again rejected. Reject any bounce is still a short, right? It kept rejecting until 10:30, kept failing, but then it kept holding, and then when it came back up, I said if 30 doesn't break, get out of the short bias, and 30 didn't break, and look how it squeezed from that 30 level to 30.82 level. But that time the warnings were in, we were already out. There were enough chances to take profit from this level to this level, this level to this level. Not an ideal play for the options, but good for the shares. So let's move to the next one. So SOFI was upgrade. SOFI had an upgrade and it came back over EMA Cloud. Yesterday we were bearish, but you can clearly see it's back over EMA Clouds, big push. I even mentioned on the X that it has a relative strength, and all you had to do was put the stops at 7 and let it ride, and all the strength, you know, it was strong in the morning and all the strength from 7 to 750s. And I did tell if you're swinging, 7 should be your risk. So that was SOFI. Not my personal trade, but just was guiding the people in community. So Tesla was all win today. And again, Tesla, difference between Tesla yesterday and today was it was over the EMA clouds. It was over the Ripster EMA clouds. Win came in with this 195 risk level for long. And then, you know, he was guiding nicely what's happening, showing us the relative strength. But then even I was that it got over EMA clouds, and I said the risk would be 194, 195. It 10 minutes turned bullish. I said that 10 a.m. and when 10 minute turns bullish, from that time it pushed to 201s, pulled back, held the previous pre-market breakout, pushed again over 200 into 200. So I said room to 202 over 200, and that's what happened. Once it broke 200, it pushed to 202. So great idea by Win, great guidance. So nice one. All right, guys, let's move to some marketplace now. I was not doing much in the market because market today was this chop. For a long time, it was this chop, right? Pulled down from the open, decent move. We were short in the open, we shorted it, and then I was warning about the pre-market lows. That pre-market lows, right? Both bearish right at open, bearish, and we go to PM lows, and that's where we were covering SPY, QQQ short, and we were covering NVDA short right here. And I said it's at pre-market support, so that means we take our profits into 10 a.m. So we were green in our initial short. I didn't trade after that, but Jay was guiding with his we always analyze the flow, the institutional flow, and we were looking what's happening. But I did realize, I did say that this is the range. I even posted about it on Twitter. This is the range. Until the range breaks, it's going to be in the chop. And once that range broke, everybody was long, and we saw institutional flow coming in, and everybody longed from this range break to 418. Range break 418. So it's, you lose money here if you are just trying to short long, but when it gets the trend, that's when you make money. And I did post about it. If you go to my Twitter, which I can show you. So what do you see here, right? So I talk about that morning chop, range is broken. I even shared that morning, like the range, and then it kept going. So before, after, before, after, before, after. So that's how you do consistent repeatable setups. Until it's chop, you don't do nothing. When it moves, that was the setup today. Flat open, pull back to pre-market lows, hold the pre-market lows, choppy, you avoid, and then you long for the range break for nice good profits, guys. So that's why we did try Amazon. It did kind of chop me. I was looking to trade it versus the 130 to 50. It tried to push. It pushed 133, then it failed, then I bailed, you know, break even, and then it came back over 130 to 50 and pushed again. But mostly I was chopped in the Amazon. So so that was that, guys. That was it. And I want to talk about AMD earnings, what I look in the earnings. I can quickly talk about that. So AMD earnings were not really that impressive. You know, it was AMD is all about 100, by the way. Over under 100. It's over 100, it's bullish, under bearish. So as you see, so AMD nothing special because I don't see much. The last year the EPS was 67. It only grew 3 cents, 4% growth. Revenue 3% growth from 5.6 billion to 5.8 billion. This is not that what I want to see, and this is what I cover in my, I cover this a lot in my webinars. So this is not really what I wanted to see. So I was bearish, right? And that's why it faded. You see it faded, and I posted faded to 93. And we talked about there's a buyer there, and we were discussing in trading floor that if it doesn't break 94, then it can bounce. And then the AI news came up, and then it pushed. So we'll see. We'll have a plan tomorrow versus these levels. So alright guys, that's all about today. Another good day. If you have any questions, post below, DM me on Twitter, or and come join my community if you want. If you like my guidance, if you want to trade with me, come for education and ideas. Do not come for alerts. Alright guys, good luck. Happy Halloween. See you all tomorrow.